Testing good. All right. Welcome to the Inspire Life podcast. My name is Michael. I am your producer, also one of your co-hosts. And today we're talking about something that has been really effective for me, something that I know is effective for a lot of people. And it's also a strategy that has a lot of research behind it. And it's something that overall, if you're trying to make change, it's something that I've also talked about before, but something that's really going to help you be able to put the pieces in place so that you're able to actually make that change and do it in a very realistic and also a very time-conscious and effective way. And that is goal setting, right? So, how to crush your goals. So if you've listened to the podcast and you heard the episode where I talk about what health coaching is, you know that health coaching is something that is very heavily dependent on, and a lot of the success comes from being able to create and also accomplish goals. And I talked about it a little bit in that episode, so basically today we're just going to really delve into, first off, the reason why we set goals. We're also going to talk about what kinds of goals to set and what nuances and goal setting can really look like. We're also going to talk about how exactly you set goals and ways to make goals not only be things that you're going after, but also things that you're accomplishing and achieving on a regular basis. And then finally, talk about what are your goals. I'll share my own personal goals. We're all about being authentic and also being vulnerable here on the Inspire Life podcast. And I want to hear from you guys as well. So let's jump in. And to start, we're going to talk about, why. Why should we set goals? What's the reason? What's the point? When it comes to, for me, health and wellness coaching, when it comes to being healthy and well, a lot of times in our culture, there's a lot of different information. There's different things out there, and we need to do some experimentation, right? We need to try new things. We're in a certain space, we're in a certain physiology, we're in a certain place, and we need to try different things to see a different result, especially if we're trying to improve our health. So, looking at, goal setting from a more 10,000 foot or kind of the big picture of goal setting and the overall vision of why we set goals, something that goal setting does is it can increase our self-efficacy. And self-efficacy essentially it comes down to our belief in ourselves that we can, accomplish what we set out our minds to do. So if we set a goal that we're gonna go to the gym 3 times this week and we accomplish that goal, we increase our self-efficacy. We know, okay, this is something that in the past maybe was a challenge. Now I know by accomplishing this goal that it's something that I can do and can continuously do if I so choose to do so. Another reason that we go to goal setting is for that motivation piece, right? A lot of times, especially with health and wellness, there are things and strategies out there that we know we should do, which, should is the most disempowering word in the English language. And with goals, you take that should to something that you'll do, right? This is something that's big because when you have it in a goal mindset, and we'll talk more about rewards and how goals really actually work, the psychology behind it in just a little bit. Being able to motivate yourself to do something that is beneficial, but you don't necessarily want to do in the moment. Again, it's a loop. It's a feedback loop. You increase your motivation, you increase your self-efficacy, and you continue to set goals and accomplish them and go forward. So there's also been a lot of research done on goal setting and accomplishing goals. So this is another big reason why we use goal setting, because there is literature that supports that, hey, this is actually an effective means of making change, of accomplishing things, of doing things that are gonna bring you great results. So also too, being able to set and accomplish goals helps us accomplish that bigger vision. It really, what goal setting is and what accomplishing goals is it's a plan. It's those action steps and the plan of accomplishing a bigger vision, right? When I started my journey of losing weight, I said, I want to lose 150 pounds, right? So I created small goals that helped me get there. And if I could look back on it chronologically, it's just a plan. I just made a plan, I stuck to the plan, and I did it. So, being able to set and accomplish goals really comes down to those big things, which is self-efficacy, self-motivation, and accomplishing your vision and doing those action steps and having the plan to do so, all backed by research. So, building off of why we set goals, what kinds of goals should we set? What kinds of goals do we set? In my work and in my practice, I focus on people setting goals related to health and wellness. I have done a lot when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to trying new recipes, doing their own research on nutrition, doing experimentation with diet and seeing what someone may or may not be allergic to, seeing how different foods serve people. That's been a big one, is nutrition. Another big one is exercise. If you are someone who you live a relatively sedentary lifestyle, maybe you have a desk job, you don't work out, don't go to the gym. If you try and jump in and say, hey, I'm going to start going to the gym 5 days a week, I'm going to start squatting 800 pounds, it's not realistic, right? So if you can set smaller goals to help you get there, and again, we'll talk to how to set goals in just a little bit. Exercise is a great place to set goals and track progress and to see results. Another one that a lot of people don't really think about when it comes to goal setting is in professional. Well, maybe a lot of people actually do think about it, but setting professional goals, right? For example, if you're working at a job that's commission-based, setting a goal to reach different benchmarks in your work so you can get paid more. That's a big reason why to set goals. More compensation, more money, more ability to do things outside of work. Professional goals are also really, really big. There's a lot, any aspect of life, even with spirituality, with starting a spiritual practice, with maybe yoga or meditation, things like that. Setting goals, giving yourself that plan, and being able to do it is big for what goals to set. Now, delving deeper into kind of more what types of goals when it comes to a time frame and chronologically. Now, when I love to use my own example. If you listen to the podcast, you know that I use my own story and my own examples quite often. So when I started, it was a big goal. I want to lose 150 pounds. I knew, and I didn't work with a coach. So that was kind of the idea, but I just felt like I was all over the place. If you're watching the video cast, that linear line of, okay, I want to lose weight and get like this, or maybe it's like this. There was a lot of ups and downs and backtracks and putting weight back on and all this stuff because I didn't really understand how setting smaller goals, right? 3-month goals, as I've mentioned in the coaching podcast, or weekly goals, how that could really contribute to the bigger goal. So, if you listen to the What is Coaching podcast, I talk about the 3-month goals, and I'm going to reiterate the importance and why this time frame is so key, and something that you can use for literally anything that's of some substance, right? That's a relatively big goal. So the 3-month time period is huge because through research, they found that this time frame is really effective at helping people see substantial results. So see something, if you want to influence your blood results, right? If you have, insulin resistance on your A1C, and you want to actually see that number come down a little bit, right? 3 months is a period of time where you can see a significant change, and you need to have it be, as I mentioned in the last podcast, in your frontal lobe. It needs to be front of mind. It's something you have to focus on every single day if you're going to actually see the results in that amount of time. So it's creating this sense of urgency in 3 months, okay, I need to do this, I need to get this done. And it's also far enough where you can actually see some great results. So, if you have a really big goal, like a year or maybe even a 2-year goal, having different incremental 3-month goals, and checking in on those can be really big in helping you see progress towards that goal. And then there's weekly goals, or as I refer to them as weekly experiments. So, those are really coming down to the behavior goals, right? We're focused on doing a certain behavior, giving it your best effort, doing something new, some sort of experiment to see, hey, is this actually going to work in my life? Can I actually accomplish doing meal prep every single Sunday? Well, I won't know unless I try this Sunday, right? Can I actually, have an impact and make this many more outgoing calls at my job to make this much more commission? Is it really something that can be done? And doing that constant experimentation, trying new things, creating new feedback loops and new neural pathways within our brain, that is really the big key here, because we know at the end of the day, if you're trying to accomplish something huge and make a massive change and accomplish a really big goal, your daily tiny little behaviors, the hundreds of decisions that we make each day, those behaviors are the ones that need to change, right? That's the hallmark of all of this, is small behavior changes will lead to greater success and greater behavior changes down the road. So we've talked a little bit about why we should set goals, a little bit about what kinds of goals we can set. So then when it comes to these goals, how do we set them, right? It's really important to understand, and again, in the coaching episode, I briefly touched on this, but how to set a goal that is going to be something that you can actually accomplish, and that's going to be a model that you can replicate and kind of insert into any type of goal that you're trying to accomplish. And the acronym that I use is SMART goals, which you may be familiar with. This stands for specific, right? S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for action oriented or having action steps, R is for realistic, and T is for time bound. So for example, if you have if you have a goal that you want to accomplish within a year, you're going to have some specific parts of it that may be smaller goals that you're going to have to use to leverage your way to that goal. So, for the sake of a SMART goal, let's think about first the weekly experiment. So specific is if you have some specific behavior that you want to do. So you want to go for a run. I don't know why you'd want to do that. That's just me personally. I'm not a runner. I'm only going to run if something's chasing me. But having a specific goal of, okay, between now and next week, whatever day of the week it is, same day next week, I want to run 5 miles. That's great. That's as good, it's somewhat specific, right? You have a certain amount of miles that you want to run. However, when it comes to this SMART goal format, we want to get really specific. Okay, 5 goals is a great goal. How about, okay, I want to run 1 mile on 5 of the days before next week. That's more specific, right? That's still going to accomplish that 5 miles goal, but we're looking even more specific than that. I'm going to run 1 mile on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. There you go. The more specific, the better. And here's why. The more specific your goal is, if you don't accomplish that goal, you can pinpoint and see exactly what needs to change going forward so that you can accomplish the goal in the next time, right? Just having a broad goal like I want to run 5 miles. Okay, I ran 3, but if you don't track, and there's gonna be another podcast coming out in the future about tracking progress and properly documenting changes that you're trying to make. If you are not accurately and pinpointing exactly what it is that's not in line with your bigger goal or with the weekly experiment, how are you going to make change to be able to do it better next time? You need to be as specific as possible. It needs to be, and that also leads directly into that measurable part, right? It needs to be something that you can objectively go back and look at and say, okay, let's say your goal was to paint a picture. You want to completely paint an awesome, beautiful picture. And you painted you got a couple parts of it. Okay, you can measure, I got this much done, right? Like 70%, and you still have so much left to do. Being able to measure and kind of have, again, that objective viewpoint of I got this much done, but this is how much I didn't, is going to help you. Again, it's all about that progression and going forward, going up what I call the upward cycle of health, and being able to use our past experiences to build towards the vision and the future that we want. So the next one's action steps. Again, having specific action steps that go into the goal. So, I kind of diverted with that painting thing. We're going to go back to the running one. So if you know that to do this running, you live in Minnesota, it's going to be negative 20, another polar vortex is coming in. Oh no, it's going to be cold. I don't want to run outside. So your action steps are, okay, I need to get up at 5:30. I need to have a little breakfast or not. Listen to my fasting podcast. I need to have a cup of coffee. I need to get to the gym by 6:30. It's going to take me 10 minutes to warm up. It's going to take me 10 minutes to run my mile. It's going to take me 20 minutes to cool down, stretch, and shower. I need to be at work by 8 a.m. You need to have those action steps laid out, right? Like, being able to run a mile is great. And if you don't know what it's going to take to prepare and be able to go out and do that, you're not going to be able to track it. So the action steps part is huge, right? We need to be able to really boil down and analyze every piece of these goals, because again, the more specific and the more you can track and the more action steps that you can actually physically see and look at, the more you'll be able to adjust and tweak going forward to be that much better and to see that much more progress. Next is realistic. I talked about it before. I mean, if you're trying to lose 150 pounds in a week, that is not going to happen. Or if it does, I'm going to question your methodology, and I'm going to go ahead and I know I can full-heartedly say if you lose 150 pounds in 1 week, that's not going to be sustainable. This is a really big one. And back to my story, when I had 150 extra pounds to lose, to let go of, I didn't put that on in a week. I didn't put all that extra weight on in a month, in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. No, that was a 12, 13 year process of really a lot of self-hatred towards myself, I'll be honest and vulnerable. And it's going to take a long time to undo all of that, to get back to a place of really being healthy and thriving to where I'm at now. And I'm still, not exactly 100% of where I want to be. I still set goals for myself when it comes to my body. That's a whole nother topic of, body dysmorphia, and I'll go into that in a different episode. But besides the fact here, the real point, what I'm trying to get to is be realistic with your goals. Again, back to living a sedentary lifestyle. If that's your reality, getting up and going to the gym every day is not going to be easy, and you need to set a goal that is going to be something that you can realistically accomplish, because that comes back to that why we set goals, is that self-efficacy part. So if you're setting a bunch of goals, but you're not accomplishing any of them, you're not going to have confidence, and you're not going to want to set goals or try to accomplish them going forward. You need to be able to set goals that you can accomplish, because we're gonna build that motivation, we're gonna build that self-efficacy and be able to continue to move forward, right? And then time bound. It's a big part of the realistic process as well, but if you say, hey, I want to run 5 miles by next week, it's next week and you've only run 2, you don't just delay and say, okay, well, by next week actually is what I really meant, 2 weeks from no, absolutely not. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to say, hey, I set myself a time period that I wanted to accomplish this goal by next week. Here's where I'm at now. Okay, I didn't do it. What can I change going forward? Maybe you need to cut it in half, 2.5 miles by next week, right? Having a time set where you're gonna actually go and check in and see every little detail. How did it go? What went well? What can I improve? What are the wins? What did I learn? What did I take away from this? It's all a part of the goal setting psychology. And with that time-bound part comes the bonus part, which is, the reward system. Okay, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but a big part of anchoring in the neurology and the psychology of goal setting is having rewards. And a big piece of this, Dr. Mel and I's mentors, Sean Dale, Lacey Book, talk about this all the time, is having a goal and then having a reward that is in proportion to that goal. So for example, if your goal is to run 5 miles by next week and you do it, what is a realistic reward for doing that? That's a lot of hard work. That's more miles than I want to run. Maybe the goal is I want to run, 20 miles in a month. And if I accomplish that, I'm going to buy myself new running shoes, right? Having rewards tied to your goals is going to anchor in that self-efficacy and that motivation and make you want to continue to accomplish goals, right? And then if you have an awesome reward and you have a goal and you're this close, like my goal was to run 20 miles in a month and I got to 19.5 and my reward was going to be some shoes. You know what? I was so close. What am I going to do? I'm not buying shoes. You know why? I did not accomplish my goal. You got to be honest with yourself. And if you're rewarding yourself for partially completing goals, then you have to change it. There's a couple different ways you can change that. A, you got to make a different goal. So maybe 19 miles. Hey, I accomplished that goal. I could get the reward. 20, I didn't get there. So I'm not going to reward myself. Or B, look at your time frame. You can have the same goal, but maybe you just needed some extra time. So, at the end of the day, being able to utilize goals in every facet of life is something that has really improved my life, has improved Dr. Mel's life. It's improved, our office and our office culture. Like Dr. Mel and I set goals when it comes to our businesses and who we're serving and how we're serving them. And if we're setting those goals, we reward ourselves, which is often a reward for our practice members as well. So, I really want to hear from all of you. What are your goals? What is it that you want to accomplish? How can you break that down in a SMART form? What's going to be the reward for your goal? Why is this goal important to you? How will this goal impact your life and improve your life? If you're watching on YouTube, comment below. Let me know, what are your goals? If you're listening on our podcast, whatever layout you're listening on, please send me an email. It's michael@coachkrug.com. Let me know what your goals are and how can I support you in those goals, right? I've worked with a good amount of people and helped them accomplish a lot of amazing results with their goals, right? And part of the beauty of goal setting is that, if you work with me, I'm not setting goals for you. They're your goals. These are things that you want to accomplish and that you're going to go out and do. So, again, tell me what your goals are. Tell me how this podcast is going to impact you. Tell me how you're going to accomplish your goals and what are you going to do to reward yourself for those goals. I love hearing from you. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Inspire Life podcast. And until next time, keep inspiring.
Hey there, did you find value in today's episode? We sure hope so. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Also, hop on over to Facebook and join the Inspired Living community. There, Dr. Mel and I share health and wellness tips to help you live your most inspired and thriving life.
And as always, keep inspiring.